Some distinguish miracles from other sorts of unique events by making them a unique kind of event. There you go. There are unique events, and so history can study unique events. But miracles are different. They're unique kinds of events. And so that's a little bit different, he says. He says that they belong, that is, miracles, belong to a category that differs too much from normal experience to ever be deemed probable.
They're the ones I don't want to deal with, so I'm going to put them in that box.
But he tells us that this approach, which is not shared by all historiographers, again, simply begs the question of whether human experience includes any miracles, right? To argue that a supernaturally caused event can have no analogies, one must presuppose that no other supernaturally caused events have ever occurred. And of course, this constitutes a circular argument, right? Yeah.
So does the historical text exclude discussion of superhuman causes or not? To a great extent, this question is semantic. Words have socially agreed meanings, so we define them in a matter of choice within a community. If the Academy chooses to define history in such a way to exclude such causes, however, we must recognize that we have not made the question illegitimate. We have simply circumscribed the epistemic sphere within which our particular discipline works. So we've carved it out, right? So if you're making Christmas cookies and you haven't put flour on that one part, and so you're sectioning it off as the non-flour part, you don't want to deal with it because you've already rolled out your dough and you're going to put your cookie cutters out there. But that's outside the realm of cookie making discussion. All this part is cookie making discussion. Now, those things seem like these things, but I just don't want to deal with it. So we're just excluding it for the purpose of, because I don't want to do the thing that would make me have to work and maybe change my ideas on how to make cookies. So we may choose or not to define such questions as part of history, but we have not thereby made them improper objects of academic inquiry. People are still going to ask those questions, even if it seems weird. And this is something that we should embrace, as we're not really dealing with the fact if we just dismiss it. That's the thing. You may not say this didn't happen, or it seems like these two different stories contradict each other, or we have independent witnesses that have witnessed something else. So those are explanations to just the story, which is the good part. We want the stories. That's what history does. Bring us the story. And then step two is then help us to distinguish what stories are true or what are fabrications after the fact, what billed as old wives' tales, or what existed at the time most favorable to all the evidence. So that's what's being asked. So just to ignore it and say these are a different kind of things doesn't really get over that question that he's making this case for.
And he says these boundaries themselves reflect a particular line of historical development, namely a particular Western Enlightenment tradition in history's discipline. He says there's no transcultural or transhistorical assent to these boundaries, and some disciplines have already moved beyond these boundaries. So we don't have to be stuck with, I'm not going to look at that because I'm not going to call that history kind of thing. But wait a minute, right? It's history. Look at all of it, right? He says we cannot appeal to some cosmic rules of our discipline to prevent exploration of these issues. Those rules evolved in a particular historical context, and as the guild, we are allowed to rethink and revise them if they are needed. Right? We cannot blame the discipline, he tells us, as we have inherited. He says we are responsible, that is, historians are responsible for what they do with this inheritance. Freedom to re-engage old questions from new perspectives is part of what it means to think critically. And so historians can look at, in fact, should, he's suggesting, look at these kinds of issues.